The United States government tracked foreign states and militias, yet few individuals drew as much scrutiny as a single man armed with a vocabulary. This was an era where the law was explicitly written to keep power unequal. Marginalized voices were stifled by a system that dictated where Black Americans could live, work, and learn, enforced directly by the state. Malcolm Little grew up in the middle of that tension. His father, a preacher and activist for Black empowerment, received constant threats from white supremacist groups. Then, his father died under suspicious circumstances. Authorities called it an accident. The community suspected murder. The financial and emotional collapse of his family left a clear lesson for a young boy. Challenging the existing power structure carried a heavy physical cost. Speaking out invited violence. That suppression continued in the classroom. Despite praising his intelligence, a teacher told Malcolm that his dream of becoming a lawyer was unrealistic for a Black student. Society had placed a hard ceiling on his future. Disillusioned by a rigged system, he abandoned formal education. He moved into the vibrant, fast-paced Boston underground, trading the classroom for the streets. Survival meant navigating a dangerous world. He became deeply involved in drugs, gambling, and theft. Eventually, the law caught up with him, resulting in a severe, multi-year prison sentence for burglary. At that moment, the state had seemingly won. The institutions designed to marginalize him had fully absorbed his potential into the penal system. His voice was locked away behind iron bars. But prison had an unintended effect. Instead of breaking him, it offered something he hadn't had access to for years: a library. He began reading constantly, diving into history, philosophy, and politics. To understand complex texts, he started hand-copying dictionaries, page by page, rapidly expanding his vocabulary. Words provided a new kind of agency. He realized that while the prison held his physical body, historical knowledge and language offered a mental freedom that no cell could contain. During this time, he embraced the Nation of Islam. He rejected his surname, Little, calling it a remnant of oppression. Instead, he adopted an X to symbolize his stolen African heritage. The system designed to neutralize him had accidentally armed him. Malcolm entered prison a broken teenager and left as a highly educated, articulate force. Upon his release, Malcolm X became a visible public speaker. His rhetoric was direct and unapologetic, demanding Black rights and self-defense by any means necessary. This militant doctrine stood in sharp contrast to the nonviolent integrationist strategies championed by other contemporary leaders, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As his popularity exploded, Malcolm grew increasingly independent. Following a series of controversial public statements, tensions peaked, resulting in a bitter fracture between him and the Nation of Islam's leadership. This model shows an isolated node representing domestic racial separatism. But a 1964 Mecca pilgrimage challenged that view, witnessing Muslims of all races praying equally. The vision expanded. He framed the struggle as a global demand for universal human dignity, viewing civil rights internationally. This evolution turned his rhetoric into a connected, international threat, challenging power structures far beyond the borders of the United States. Operating as an independent global thinker brought immense danger. Death threats became a daily reality. His home was firebombed, and his family lived in constant peril. The state's anxiety matched the public hostility. Federal intelligence agencies monitored him heavily. They tapped his phones, infiltrated his meetings, and tracked his every move across the country. The tension finally broke on February 21, 1965. As Malcolm X took the stage at the Audubon Ballroom in New York, gunfire erupted across the room, cutting him down at just 39 years old. The bullets stopped his heart. The perpetrators believed that by destroying his physical body, they could successfully erase the ideas he had put into the world. They were wrong. Death did not silence Malcolm X. His speeches survived, and the release of his autobiography turned his personal journey into a worldwide phenomenon almost immediately.
Decades later, new generations of activists, students, and artists discovered his texts. They took his vocabulary and applied it to their own movements for equality and justice. His historical value doesn't come from being perfect or static. It comes from his documented willingness to challenge his own beliefs, admit his flaws, and evolve his understanding of the world. Malcolm X lived in a dangerous era, but he refused to navigate it quietly. He proved that the greatest defense against systemic injustice is a curious intellect that simply refuses